What would you do if somebody just marched onto your land, built 20 identical cabins where your father's wildflower meadow used to be, then looked you in the eye and said, "It wasn't even your property anymore, I'm telling you." I stood there, frozen, watching an excavator tear down my dad's old cedar fence, while Lana Whitmore, the HOA president in a navy suit and pearls out in the mud, shrugged like it was just another Tuesday. She actually said, "The county already approved it. You don't get a say." That land was worth over 10 million bucks, and I had the papers to prove it. Did they think I'd just pack up and walk away? Yeah, they were dead wrong. That was the day my entire world tilted on its axis. And I promise you, that was just the start. Let me back up a second. You need the full story. 3 years back, my name was Ethan Cole. I was 41, a construction engineer recently laid off from Boeing when the whole world went sideways. After burning through my savings and watching job leads dry up like a rain puddle in July, I made the call to head back to Clearwater Lake. 15 acres of woods and lakefront. My dad, Robert Cole, left me when cancer finally got him. Dad was a Vietnam vet who built our cabin himself, taught me to fish and work hard, and made it clear the land was never to be sold. He turned it into a little paradise, old-growth trails, a handmade dock, a piece of our family soul. So when everything else in my life collapsed, I thought I'd try something new, open an eco-tourism spot, give city folks a taste of real wilderness, maybe build a few cabins and start photography workshops. I figured with my engineering skills and that legacy, what could go wrong? Turns out just about everything. When I finally crested that last hill and saw the lake, my heart should have soared. Instead, I felt like someone knocked the wind out of me. My dad's cabin was gone from its spot, and in its place, 20 shiny new rental cabins all lined up like military barracks. The old wildflower meadow was paved over, and there was landscaping so neat it looked fake, right where the forest used to crowd the shoreline. I parked my truck and just sat there gripping the steering wheel. I kept thinking maybe I took the wrong turn, maybe GPS screwed up. But there was no mistaking Eagle's Perch, that chunk of rock Dad named after a nesting pair, or the curve of the shoreline. This was my land, or at least it had been. Then Lana Whitmore walked out of the biggest cabin heels, clicking on the gravel like she was running a board meeting. She looked me up and down and said, "You must be Ethan Cole." When she introduced herself as the HOA president and started talking about property transition, I nearly lost it. "Lady, this is my land, my father's land. I have the deed." "What are you doing here?" She smiled real shark-like and told me, "Oh, Mr. Cole, there's been a misunderstanding. We sent you letters, and when you didn't respond, the county approved the project and the land sale." She kept talking about how her development was for the greater good, jobs, tax revenue, new housing, blah, blah, blah. All I could think about was my father's cabin, and that's when I spotted it way down past some fake new evergreens propped up like a prop in a movie. Not demolished, just moved. They literally picked it up and set it somewhere else. "Did you move my father's cabin?" I asked, and for one split second, something flickered across her face. Fear, maybe. But then she went right back to the script talking about heritage conservation. She even tried to convince me they'd preserved it for community use. The nerve. I walked over and sure enough, there were fresh tool marks, new sawdust, construction dust. I called her out. "Somebody's been inside tearing into these walls." "What were you looking for?" She tried to brush it off, routine maintenance. But she was rattled. I could see it. I left. But that night I tossed and turned in a cheap motel. Lana's nervous face haunting me. If this was all so legal, why did she look so scared? What was she really after in that cabin? About 3 a.m. it hit me. Dad had once put up a solar-powered trail camera in an old oak. Maybe, just maybe, it was still there, still recording. Next morning, I parked on the public road, hiked in the back way, and found the old oak. And there it was, hidden like a secret camera, blinking still alive after all these years. I brought it back, hands shaking, and started going through months of footage. Construction crews raising the woods, the cabin lifted and moved, Lana calling the shots. But then there was a recording from 6 months back, her and some county official thick envelope changing hands talk of postponing phase 2 because the geological survey found a vein much larger than we expected. Not housing, mining. And it wasn't just a little bribe. It was about extracting something, lithium, as it turned out, something worth billions. That's when I knew this was way, way bigger than a property dispute. I needed backup, so I called Jennifer Walsh, a real estate lawyer with a reputation for gutting corrupt HOAs. She took one look at the footage and said, "Ethan, you've got a RICO case. This is organized crime." She dug into Lana's history, found a trail of HOA scams just like this, and suddenly it wasn't just about my land. It was about dozens of families across counties. Jennifer enhanced the audio, caught Lana admitting they'd built across federal land, which turned this into a federal crime. But the intimidation started right after. Someone tried to break into my truck. Jennifer's office got audited out of the blue. And the next morning, my motel internet went dead. Marcus, my old Army buddy, and a cybersecurity wizard drove up from Portland to help. He found out that Lana's people had erased my family's ownership from every online record county, Google Maps, Zillow, you name it. They were running a coordinated cyber operation, shifting property boundaries little by little for years using botnets and fake accounts, and all of it paid for by a shell company in the Caymans. The shell company, we learned, was just a front for a Chinese mining conglomerate. They weren't building vacation homes. They were setting up to mine one of the biggest lithium deposits in North America, right under Clearwater Lake. Suddenly, it was clear this was economic warfare. They'd bought off county officials, bribed a judge, and erased my family's claim from history just to get to that lithium. Things escalated fast. Somebody set off an EMP, frying every device in my motel and wiping our hard drives. We realized if we didn't move, we'd end up like Robert Morrison, a local notary whose forged signature was on all the documents. The problem, he'd been dead for 2 years before those papers were signed. His son called me out of the blue, furious, saying his dad was investigating Lana's scams before he died, and he was sure the accident that killed him was no accident at all. Dad had been ready for this. In a secret compartment behind the cabin's gun rack, I found his journal in a sealed envelope for Ethan, only if there's legal trouble. Inside a bulletproof family trust that barred any sale or development without written consent from every Cole descendant. If anyone tried to seize or develop it, the whole property would revert to state ownership as a protected wilderness. And time was running out. We had less than 3 months before Lana's illegal occupation would actually trigger that clause. With Marcus and Jennifer gathering evidence, and with my sister Jessica, who was also being harassed by her own HOA, looped in, we finally contacted the FBI. Turns out they'd been investigating Lana's network and the Chinese mining connection for months. A federal agent named Rebecca Stone showed up at our safe house just as Lana's security team circled the place. The FBI had all the proof they needed, my footage, the forged documents, Marcus's cyber forensics, and Dad's hidden trust. But they wanted one last thing, Lana confessing on tape. I went undercover, wired up, and slipped into an emergency HOA board meeting pretending to be an environmental consultant. Lana bragged about bribing a federal judge ordering a murder, and how the Chinese partners were prepared to handle any more obstacles, including me, my sister, and anyone else who stood in the way. That was all the feds needed. The FBI stormed the meeting, arrested everyone, and began the biggest environmental crime investigation in American history. 47 people arrested, millions seized, a senator forced to resign, and the Chinese mining company banned from the U.S. for good. But the best part, Clearwater Lake was restored. The 20 illegal cabins were torn down. Our land became a federally protected conservation area, just like Dad wanted. Jessica kept her house. Emma, my niece, started college to study environmental science. Marcus now works with the FBI building AI to spot these land theft scams before they even get off the ground. Jennifer leads the fight against HOA corruption nationwide. And I rebuilt Dad's cabin by hand right back on its old foundation as a headquarters for conservation education. Sometimes I stand on that dock, coffee in hand, and wonder if Dad would be proud. You know, he didn't just leave us land, he left us a blueprint for fighting back and a reminder that if you stand up to bullies, even the biggest conspiracy can come crashing down. Now, you tell me, was justice served? Or is this just the beginning of another fight for the soul of American land? I want to hear your take. Drop your thoughts below, share your stories about standing up to power, and if this story made you think, hit that like button and subscribe. Who knows, maybe your story's next.